Okay, okay. So results of what? Results of that. Yes.
Fresh afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Jai Guru, sir. And good afternoon to everyone, all
Good
the
afternoon, Rajesh
participants.
sir.
So after jumbo meals, we are again sitting in front of the screen. So we have to pray to God to should not the sleep should not come. So that is the thing. Anyway, so Swastika and that another they are telling the greetings that good afternoon to all. So better we can start this sessions. Today, our chief guest, the keynote speaker, is Dr. C. Jayaguru sir from PSNA College of Engineering and Technology, Dindigul, Tamil Nadu. His specialization is structural engineering, and I welcome you, sir, on behalf of the Department of Civil Engineering and SR Engineering College. I welcome you, sir, for this FDP, and thanks for giving your consent for our invitations for this FDP, sir. And I would like to call upon our faculty. Ikramullah Khan to give a few words and introduce the today's session's chief guest.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So let me introduce our key speaker. Dr. C. Jayaguru sir has obtained his graduate degree from Coimbatore Institute of Technology and a PG in structural engineering from College of Engineering from Anna University. Sir also completed his PhD in the research area of seismic retrofitting under Anna University, Chennai. So, Sir joined PSNA College of Engineering as a faculty in civil engineering in the year 2004, and since till date he is serving there. Sir has published almost 14 research papers in peer international and national journals and presented 26 papers in international and national conferences. He has organized 2 international conferences, 2 national seminars, and 5 training programs. He is also a reviewer in 2 peer-reviewed international journals, as well as he has received DST International Travel Grant under Young Scientist Scheme in the year 2012 and presented his research paper in an international conference EASEC 12 at Hong Kong. Sarah has been appointed as a resource person by NBA for conducting training on outcome-based education and has successfully conducted 5 training workshops organized by NBA. He developed the dynamic testing facility in structural engineering laboratory of his institution with hydraulic actuator and data acquisition system. He is a life member of ICI and Indian Society for Technical Education, IST. With the brief words, I would like to welcome Dr. C. Jayaguru sir to hand over the session.
Yes, sir. Sir Jayaguru sir, now the stage is your screen is yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Indeed, there was a very brief introduction. Rajesh sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So that was a brief introduction, and I really thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to give a talk on this great occasion, particularly this AICTE Training and Learning Academy, particularly this Atal FDP, because it is a great honor, and I have to thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity. And I feel little excited to give this e-lecture, particularly on this FDP. And I was more fascinated with the title, that is Sustainable Materials for Smart Cities. And they have given recent trends and challenges. And even though I am not a participant of this FDP, I used to listen to most of the lectures, starting from the first day, that is the inaugural session with the keynote by Dr. Gopalakrishnan sir, and even the today morning session by Dr. Shiva Sidambaram, and the afternoon session, that is second session, particularly on road network. So those type of lectures are very different, and I really thank particularly Dr. Rajesh Kumar, my best friend,
to choose this title. And I'm really sorry for this late afternoon, as the organizer has pointed out clearly. After the jumbo meals, we are starting. So I request all of you to sit back relaxedly, because this session is only about the materials. I'm not going to go too technical into the presentation. Though the title is Intelligent Materials for Sustainable Infrastructure, I don't want to go deep into the content or the technical things. I just want to browse only the main ideas, because that will give you a good level of understanding. And I think I can share my screen so that we will start with the presentation, because it's already 15 minutes late we started. And I assure you, all of you, I'll try to finish by 1 hour to 1 hour 15 minutes. With that, let me share the screen. Please wait for 1 minute. I'll share the screen so that we'll start with the presentation. Yes. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, sir. Particularly, if anybody is unable to see the screen, or if you are unable to hear my voice, you are always welcome to interrupt me at any time. And you can say, or even you can communicate the organizers, because as I am presenting in the screen, I cannot see the chat box, so that the organizers can hint me with some technical issues, or if any network disconnection, etc. And we will set out the things right. Okay.
Sure, sir.
So, yes, sir. So I'll start. Actually, this presentation is about particularly smart or intelligent materials, particularly for a sustainable infrastructure. The title is chosen mainly for the theme of this faculty development program, because the faculty development program is particularly addressing on sustainable materials. Because nowadays we are exploiting the nature. Even in the inaugural session, the Gopalakrishnan sir was pointing out how the environment we are polluting, and how far we need to understand the importance of the word sustainability. So let me take the word sustainability from that particular context, and I am going to throw light particularly on smart materials, or what are those novel or intelligent materials which is going to give you or give the entire society a sustainable infrastructure. So with this brief introduction, let me go for the outline. Looking into the that is considering the mixed audience, I have deliberately made the presentation assuming that it should be reaching all the category of audience, because when I was inquiring with the organizers, they said like it was a variety of people all over the country, and it should reach everybody. We can speak about mathematical modeling. There is more scope for electronics and communication, and in fact this particular program is exclusively on civil engineering aspects. So let me restrict my discussion particularly on the materials, its applications, and the civil engineering aspects. I don't want to go deep into the electronics area, or I'm not going to go deep into the mathematical modeling concepts, because those will go beyond the scope of the listeners. Even though some listeners may be from variety of discipline, you may be understanding the concept, because I'm just going to touch only the top level. And I assume by end of this lecture, that is by end of this entire session, you will be having a basic knowledge on the smart, or rather called as an intelligent material, and you will be understanding its application in the sustainable society or the sustainable infrastructure. So let me give a outline of the presentation, or the talk is going to address on smart city futures. That is, as the title is about smart city, we will first speak about the smart city features. Then I'm going to give you a definition, or what do you mean exactly by smart materials, and its types and variety, then functions, applications, need and scope for the research. Actually, this need and scope for research, actually I have incorporated in each and every material. Actually, I am going to present in a way like types of intelligent materials. Each type will be elaborately discussed. So during the discussion of each type, I am going to discuss the scope for research, because this is actually a faculty development program, and many of the budding faculty members and many research scholars are present in this audience. So it should reach those people, and people those who are in the level of beginners, they should understand what area they can choose for research. So this sustainable environment, or this intelligent materials, is a good scope for people doing research. So I am going to throw light on the research aspects, as well as where and how these things are applied. So that is what I'm going to say. Where are we now, particularly in the global concept as well as in the Indian context? So I have collected data, variety of data, based upon my experience and based upon the information available, so that you can understand the idea. So this picture shows a sustainable infrastructure. Infrastructure means we used to say buildings, bridges, roadways, railways, tunnel system, etc. So this picture is actually showing some building infrastructure, some bridge infrastructure, a tunnel system, etc. So let me discuss about this infrastructure picture little later. So with this outline, I'm going to go into the presentation. So for your easy way of understanding, and this session being in the afternoon time, so I would like to inform you all, it is actually framed with a mixture of some videos, pictures, etc. I'm not going to give you more amount of text, and I already have mentioned, I'm not going to give too much of technical content. So you can sit back relaxedly, and you can slightly have a leisure mode, and you can discuss if you are in an interesting way. So let me give you a brief video, that is what exactly a smart city means. Though the previous speakers have addressed many smart cities, let me give a smart introduction about the smart city with a video. Please have a look.
Sir, video is on, audio is not audible.
Sir, there is any audio?
Yes, sir.
But we are not hearing any audio, sir. Only video only we are listening. We are seeing only video, sir.
Actually, there is an audio, sir.
Okay,
You are
okay.
not
Sir.
able.
We are not.
You are not able to see the
We
audio.
are not able to hear any audio, sir. We are seeing only audio.
Only the video is visible.
Yes, sir.
Oh. Now, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. I think, let me play now. Is it audible now?
No.
No. Okay.
Not
Then.
yet, not yet.
Okay. Okay. This is not a big issue. This is actually a small introduction video. Let me jump into the next slide. Actually, there is some problem with the PPT, it seems, because the videos are merged inside.
Sir,
Okay.
in PPT, if you add video, it doesn't appear the sound, sir.
Okay. Then in that case, let me have the videos here. Actually, yeah. Is it audible now?
No, sir, not audible.
No. Okay then. Okay, let's leave it. It's not a problem. Let's go to the presentation.
It seems video is not smart. Cities are smart, videos are not smart.
Okay, then it's not a big issue. Okay, now let's come back to the presentation. Why we are speaking about this smart and sustainable infrastructure, or where it is needed? Actually, is the voice now audible? Rajesh Kumar sir, is the voice audible?
Yes, your voice is audible, sir.
Okay then. I'll skip the videos because there is some problem with the video presentation. It's not a big issue. Okay. Now let us look into the meaning of the word sustainable. Actually, sustainable is actually when we look into the simple definition, it is able to be maintained at a certain level. That is, we have to maintain some resource or environment or any material performance. We have to maintain it at a certain level without compromising the ability of its future generation or its future responsibility or future functionality, etc. That is what called sustainability. Now we will look into this need for a sustainable infrastructure. So now look into this title. Actually, there is one bridge called I-35W interstate bridge across the Mississippi River in the country of USA. It's actually connecting two major towns in Minneapolis region. Actually, you can look at this picture. There was a sudden collapse in 2007 when you just imagine you were traveling in a bridge and the bridge was suddenly collapsing. Just imagine, as commuters, they were driving home from work in the evening on this I-35 Twin City Bridge. Actually, it was connecting two states. It was called an interstate bridge. The bridge abruptly collapsed. 13 people nearly died and many were injured and many were drowned into the Mississippi River where the water is flowing. Actually, this bridge is a truss type bridge, and it has got concrete girders. It is actually a steel concrete composite. Abruptly, it collapsed. When they opened in 1967, they were planning for a scheduled maintenance, but though there were some little level of maintenance, there were no proper repair, there were no proper replacement strategies, etc. So what happened in 2007 is all of a sudden the bridge collapsed. Again, there was a video about that bridge. I think you may not be able to hear. Okay, I think there is problem with the audio. What actually happened here is in 2005, they were making an inspection and they are telling that the structure is structurally deficient or there are some problems and repair has to be done. But what the local authority in Minneapolis state, what they did is all the bridges are having problems. So they simply ignored the information by the engineers to go for repair. So the bridge was all of a sudden it collapsed. So which means we need to do something to monitor the level of performance of the bridges. So what is the ultimate solution? So adding sensors and other devices, particularly some monitoring devices to the bridges, tunnels, buildings, etc., can turn them into smart, and they are capable of sensing, and in some case that particular material can respond to the problems. So with this, let me go into the next slide, that is smart city features, or where these intelligent materials are needed. Now, let me take the smart city features context from our Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, because our government has taken one of the thrust areas as installation or erection of smart cities all over the country. As per the statement of our Honorable Prime Minister of India, within 10 years, many cities should be smart, and they have allotted a lot of funds or budget for that. So from that smart city feature definition, I have taken this word. What they are telling is in that last context, because the government is giving many features. I think there is some disturbance. I request all the participants to mute your mic, please, because others may have the same disturbance. Okay. So they have given many features because as per the government norms, they have given smart governance, smart way of communication, etc. But we, the civil engineers, or particularly the application engineers, we are more specific on infrastructure. So there they have mentioned a word like, or a statement like, applying smart solutions to infrastructure and services in area-based development in order to make them better. That is, what is that area-based development is? The area should be vulnerable, should be less vulnerable to disasters like earthquakes or some cyclones, whatever it is. And we have to use only fewer resources. We should not exploit the nature. And we have to provide a cheaper service. We should not charge many amount, etc. So we have to look into smart solutions. This is what the key feature stated in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs website. And there, they are defining smart city. Because smart city, when you go into the net and have a browsing, or when you look into some of the textbooks, several definitions are there. Even in the Ministry of Human and Urban Affairs website, there is no standard definition. They are even mentioning there is no standard definition for a smart city. It depends with country to country and with administrators. So how far you are going to define what is a smart city. So now I have collectively given a definition. It is a little lengthy, but have a look. A smart city is the one that supervises and fuses the conditions of all its infrastructure, particularly roads, bridges, tunnels, subway, airport, communication system, power, and major buildings with the ICT technology, that is information and communication technology, to better optimize its resources, plan its preventive maintenance activities, and monitor security aspects while maximizing the service to all its citizens. So I was telling you in the beginning itself, I am going to focus only on the civil engineering aspects. So I have coined a definition, particularly on the aspects of infrastructure. So let me look into the civil engineering aspects of a smart city for a smart and sustainable infrastructure. I have given 4 important headings for a smart city, particularly the civil engineering aspect. So one is related to smart transportation, then of course the smart buildings, then smart water and irrigation system, then smart wastewater management, that is sewerage management. And looking into the smart transportation. So this is actually to certain extent in many cities, this has come into practice. That is prediction of traffic, real-time analytics, that is even in a Google map or Here map, they are giving real-time analytics, and particularly to the travelers, they are getting information. And ticketing, particularly that is if you look into countries like Singapore, if you happen to travel to Singapore, they will be giving you one single smart card which can be used for travel in metro trains, or you can travel in local communication bus, you can travel in taxis, or even you can use that smart card for some payments also. So this is where that real-time data are coming into practice. So smart transportation is normally in practice in some of the countries. Then comes the smart buildings, wherein the smart lighting, of course, nowadays, even in many online shopping websites, you are able to buy smart lighting systems. And the fire protection system, already we have gone somewhat smart, even in the security system. That is automatically operating doors, etc. CCTV, HVAC systems, and of course the smart concrete sensors, which is going to look into the health of your structure, its temperature variation, deformation, that is deflection or strain variations, etc., to increase the sustainability and lifespan. Then comes the smart water supply system and irrigation system. Here, they are going to analyze the flow data as well as the pressure data in real time. So this will reduce your water bills, because nowadays in many cities, they have gone for metered water supply system. So in that case, if you measure the flow and pressure data, you can easily control your requirement bills. And even a smart irrigation system can be brought into practice, wherein your soil moisture, tank level, everything can be monitored in real time, and suitable things can be taken as a measure. Then comes the smart wastewater system, wherein the sewer system can be controlled by gates through a smart sensor. For example, if you are having a sewerage pumping station and that pumping station is already full, what will happen is it will be sensed automatically and the gates will be closed and the water will be redirected to another sewerage pumping station. So like that, the water flow will be easily monitored so that there won't be any blockage, there won't be any overflow, etc. With which your convenience will be maximized and there won't be any problems. And for all these smart systems, we need smart sensors or some materials for monitoring some damage or monitoring the real-time application, etc., which will be needed for scheduling of maintenance and routines. Now, in this all aspects, I am going to address only the materials, that is the smart materials, which is going to be used in all these things. And I have listed some 5 components of a smart system, that is a smart infrastructure or a smart structure or a smart building. Number 1, it comes with data acquisition. So whatever thing, even smart transportation system, first we have to collect the data. That data has to be collected only through some sort of sensors, or what I am going to call that as is called intelligent material. Then that data should be transmitted to some control unit. Normally, with the recent technologies, the communication engineers, they are having lot of technologies or a lot of practices. Something include the short range data transmission and long range data transmission. Normally, they would prefer short range data transmission. Particularly, you can use technologies like Bluetooth or Zigbee, wherein your data will be transmitted to a nearby command and control unit. From there, you can use GPS technology to be communicated to a faraway place through satellites. And from that control unit, you will be getting some data instructions and which will trigger the action devices if needed. For example, a fire can be sensed and the data can be transmitted to the control unit, and the control unit will trigger out the water spray system so that the fire will be extinguished within few minutes. Similarly, in cases of earthquakes, there are some smart, that is in the morning presentation also, Dr. Sivasidambaram was pointing out, that is smart dampers. So the MR dampers or the magnetorheological dampers, so wherein the action devices will be triggered. They are called active system or semi-active or passive system. So those devices will be triggered out. So my presentation is going to address only on the intelligent materials. I'm not going to speak on data transmission or command and control unit, etc. So here comes the definition of intelligent materials. So in past, they used to call intelligent materials. Nowadays, they used to call smart materials, because intelligent materials are highly proactive. Nowadays, even that smart materials are getting transformed into intelligent materials. That is why I have chosen the word intelligent. They are also called active materials, or they are also called adaptive materials. So these materials have the capability to respond to changes in their condition. That is, whatever the condition is there, or whatever the change in environment which they are exposed, in a useful and controlled manner. So what are the inputs that can be given in a smart material or to a smart material? Number 1, it can be a force or a stress. Then it can be a deformation or a strain. Then there may be a change in electrical field or a magnetic field. Similarly, changes in temperature or moisture, pH level of water, or changes in light. All these will trigger out the behavior of a smart material, and that is why they are called smart. And in civil engineering projects, these smart materials are used for increasing performance, comfortability, and energy efficiency of a structure. When we look into sensor technology, many people, that is the application side, many people will confuse with the conventional sensors and smart sensors. Actually, in our education, we have studied in our civil engineering education, we would have used electrical strain gauges or LVDT would have used, and even in bridge testing, they used LVDT, load cell, accelerometer, etc. So these particular materials are conventional sensors. The reason is they are not going to have any change in their behavior. Rather, they are going to measure some electrical quantity. Here, these sensors are not going to measure any structural parameter because we used to measure deflection or strain or some temperature variation, etc. But when you take a strain gauge, strain gauge, when you are attaching that strain gauge to a beam, it will have minute wires. That is, small wires will be there. That wires will have standard resistance. So when there is some deviation in the deflection of the beam or some cracks are going to develop, that particular variation in the length will trigger out the changes in the wire in the strain gauge, and there will be a change in resistance. That resistance will induce some electricity which will be converted, or that is the voltage. That voltage will be calibrated to some sort of strain measurement. Similarly, in an accelerometer, similarly in a thermocouple, even in an inclinometer, these type of changes are going to happen. Wherein a smart material, they have the ability to change their property, their physical or magnetic property or some electrical property, whenever some stimulus are given as an input. So this is what the difference. So I would request all the listeners to not to confuse with the conventional sensor with the smart sensors. For example, they used to have optic sensors in bridges. Those optic sensors are conventional sensors, whereas something like piezoelectric or magnetorheological, etc., they are all called intelligent sensors. Fine. Now this is what the types. The types are the list of smart materials or intelligent materials. Though the list is more or big, I have chosen 5 most important smart materials which are more relevant to the civil engineering application. First, we are going to see shape memory alloys. Then we are going to see magneto-restrictive materials. Then piezoelectric material, that is actually more important and have more applications. Electrorheological fluids. Then electrochromic material. So before looking into that first material, that is shape memory alloy, I would like to give a that is definition for smart civil engineering infrastructure. That is, what is that civil engineering? Though a few lakh worth car, that is a car we are buying for some 6 lakhs or 10 lakhs, etc., has got nearly some 10 to 15 sensors in it. Why can't civil engineering structure can have a sensor? That is, the structure can automatically adjust its structural characteristics and respond to external disturbances, particularly for its safety. So we have to incorporate these type of sensors in the buildings to improve its lifetime and its serviceability. So the smart materials can be integrated into a structure to provide functions such as actuation and information, particularly for monitoring and self-adapting. So the previous speakers, I think they would have addressed about the self-healing concrete. The concrete would be able to lock its cracks. So those type of materials are also smart materials. So comes the shape memory alloys. Though the morning speaker has addressed, it is my responsibility to define it again. So the definition I have to say, and I am going to look into only the applications. I am not going to the technical part. So shape memory alloy, they are actually the metallic alloys that possess the ability to regain or that is the previously defined shape or size when subjected to appropriate thermal or mechanical changes. So particularly I am going to use the word thermal or mechanical. Mechanical in the sense some extension. See, in civil engineering, the shape memory alloys can be either passive or semi-active or sometimes active. Particularly in the case of seismic safety, these shape memory that is alloys, they will be used as an active device to reduce the effect of earthquakes, particularly the deformation, they will be having more ductility or good mechanical behavior. So what are the types of SMAs available in the industry? So one is copper, aluminum, and a nickel alloy. Then comes a nickel and a titanium alloy. That is called actually nitinol or nitinol, they used to say. Then comes zinc, copper, gold, and iron alloy. It's a ferrous alloy. Out of these three or few other alloys are also available. The nitinol based or the nickel and titanium based shape memory alloys are preferable for most of the applications in aerospace technology as well as in civil engineering applications, because they are highly stable and more have practicability and superior thermomechanic performance. This nitinol has two unique properties. One is shape memory effect. The second one is super elasticity. The shape memory effect, I am going to say it is only on heating. That is, this is a phenomena of it's a phenomena wherein the shape memory alloy will return back to its predetermined shape upon heating. So when you are able to heat it, it will have that memory in it and it will come back to its original shape. For example, you have given the memory as to be a spring. When you go to YouTube, many videos are available, particularly the examples, they will take a nitinol spring. When they extend the spring and change or convert it into a rugged shape, when you insert that into a hot water, the spring will revert back to its original shape, or the nitinol wire will revert back to the shape of a spring. Apart from that, the nitinol has got a super elasticity or a high level of ductility, particularly in the nonlinear behavior. It has got the phenomena wherein it can undergo large amount of inelastic deformation and it can recover its shape even after unloading. That is mechanical performance, it will be having a good thing. So here the two things. The morning speaker was speaking about this austenite and martensite. You look at this second diagram. The bottom level, it was austenite. When the stress is increasing, it is becoming martensite. Actually, we can see into we can see these words. There are two crystal phases in shape memory alloys. Actually, the austenite phase is stronger, and when there is higher temperature, it will be in austenite phase. And when it is having a low temperature, or if the stresses are low, or you have given some elongation, it will convert into a martensite phase. Here you can see the second picture. From the austenite phase, it is transforming into martensite phase. That is when you are giving a stress and there will be a strain. When you are removing the load, it is converting back into a austenite phase. And here, the original shape is like this. You are deforming it into some other shape, and after heating, it will return back to its original shape. So here, actually, I have got a video. Please bear with me. Even without audio, I think you are able to see the video. See here, they will be illustrating the performance of this nitinol wire, wherein you can see the two major physical features. That is performance of this nitinol. One is the thermal performance, that is when it is heating, it is coming back to its original shape or original idea, and when it is deformed, it is going back to its previous shape. You just have a look at this video. Please bear with me with the audio. This is an important phase wherein we can see the ductility of this nitinol. This is more needed for structural engineer. Yes. So I really thank your patience for seeing a video without an audio. Now let us go into this shape memory alloy and where we can apply it for an improved performance in structural engineering aspect or in a civil engineering aspect. When we look into the current seismic design philosophy, that is almost all the code books in many countries, even in our IS 1893 or when we look into this ductile detailing code book, they speak more on performance limits. That is, when the structure is fully operational, it should not have any problem during a minor earthquake. And when it is under operation or moderate earthquake, there can be a life safety or a performance level will be life safety. That is, you can allow cracks in the infrastructure, particularly bridges or buildings, wherein you can repair the cracks even after a moderate earthquake, or when a major earthquake comes, the structure should not collapse and it should save the life of the people. That is, life safety is the ultimate aspect of the current seismic design philosophy. But what will happen to the infrastructure? You look into this picture, there are hinges formed in the top of this pier and even in the bottom of the pier, which we cannot repair even after a severe earthquake. So what will happen in those cases? For example, the government is constructing infrastructures, the bridges at a huge cost. Several crores of rupees will be invested. And if these damages are permitted, so what will happen? Is it really a success? Normally, imagine there is a bridge connecting two cities or two important places, and that bridge is totally collapsed or it has lost its performability after an earthquake. So what will happen? That bridge has to be reconstructed after again for few years, or it should be closed for traffic and severe repair actions has to be taken on. So in these cases, we have to look into the next level, that is performance based design. So what is that performance? How to improve the ductility behavior of such type of bridges? So here again in University of Illinois, they have tested 4 set of columns with this to understand the super elastic characteristics of shape memory alloy. So what they have done is they have gone for retrofitting. That is the first column. That is they were testing with cyclic load behavior. In the first column, it was without any retrofitting. In the second column, they have retrofitted with the normal conventional method. So can anybody switch on the mic and say what is the conventional method of retrofitting a bridge pier?
It's a carbon fiber wrapping or something.
Exactly,
Jacketing.
Exactly. Yeah, jacketing. Exactly. That is the very standard conventional method nowadays we are following. In olden days, we will go for concrete jacketing or ferro cement jacketing. But nowadays, as the participant has clearly pointed out, we are going for carbon fiber sheet wrapping. Many researchers have been completed in that, and it has been in practice in many of the countries. Even in our country, we are using that CFRP jacketing or GFRP jacketing. But in this video, actually it's a video, again a problem with the audio. What this Illinois people have done is, they have tested a normal FRP jacketed column with cyclic loading, and they have incorporated this SMA wire spirals to improve the ductility behavior. And what happened is, in the fourth column, they made a combination, that is hybrid, with FRP as well as this super elastic shape memory alloy wires. So what happened is, the fourth column had an extraordinary performance. Let me play the video just for that particular part alone. So please bear with the audio, but you will be understanding because it is self-illustrative. You can see here. So this is actually a control column. with actuator they are testing. You can see the failure. This is jacketed column, ferro cement jacketed. Wraps. So they have given spirals in this. So in this picture, you can see there are spirals as well as FRP jacketing. So when they tested this with cyclic loading using a servo hydraulic actuator in a strong flow, they exhibited a very better performance with very less level of rupture, and there is no crack. All the cracks were arrested. So what here actually was happening is the shape memory alloy has given a good level of ductility. In the next slide, I'm going to show that. So normally when you take a conventional rebar, even though it is a HYSD bar, after the yield point, you can see this particular thing. Even in the morning presentation, the speaker was pointing out. So after it's reaching the yield point, it will be going to a inelastic range, and wherein when you remove the load, it will go for a permanent deformation. So here there will be a permanent deformation in case of HYSD bars or ductile bars, whatever it is. But here comes in the right side picture, you can see when you are giving out a stress or when you are giving out a load, particularly in times of earthquakes or cyclic loading, the material will go into the martensite phase and it will come back to the austenite phase, wherein there will not be any permanent deformation. So the material will be as it is. Whereas your column, when you are giving this rebar in a column, the material will be as it is and the column will have a good level of ductility, extraordinary ductile performance. So in the next slide, you can see when a steel reinforced RC column, when you are going for reverse cyclic loading, right? The hysteretic curves, you can see the higher level of deformation, whereas the same amount of hysteretic curves, the deformation is having that much, but there is no permanent deformation. When you complete the test, the column will be as it is with a few minor cracks, and there won't be any problem with this. So what we can suggest here is, as the faculty member, we can go for good number of research. In CBRA Roorkee also, they are doing research with this SMA reinforcement. We can also start in with our level of research, and we can go for severe studies, and we can go for analytical investigations, etc. Now looking into the analytical investigation. So whenever you are identifying some shape memory alloy, particularly nitinol, etc. So what we normally do is we will do a moment curvature analysis. So people who want to do analytical investigations, I'll give a small idea about this. So we have to choose the moment curvature characteristics of that particular RC section with the shape memory alloy, that is shape memory reinforcement, and we have to go for incremental dynamic analysis, and you can set the performance limit, that is life safety or collapse. Normally when you do pushover analysis, right, particularly in softwares like SAP 2000, you will be fixing the performance limits. If it is a critical structure, immediate occupancy will be your performance limit. If it is a normal structure, we can go for life safety as the performance limit. So you set the performance limit and identify the dynamic pushover curves for different ground motions, whatever you are choosing. That is, the percentile curves will be varying. Finally, you obtain the drift limit and you select that so that you will be understanding the performance level of different SMEs. So I would insist many of the research scholars or budding engineers or budding faculty members in this audience team to go for more amount of research in this shape memory alloy reinforcement. Even though the material may be costly at present, with gradual applications, we will be getting it at a cheaper cost, and you can go for analytical investigations. So it will be opening good light on our research area. So with this, I'll stop the discussion on shape memory alloys. If you have any points to be noted or discussion, you please note it down. Finally, we can have a discussion through the chat box or orally, and I'll clarify your doubts, whatever is there. So then I am going to shift into the next material called magnetostrictive material. This is the second material in my list. So what actually the magnetostrictive is? So as I defined already, every smart material will have certain change in their characteristics. So here what this material is doing is, when exposed to a magnetic field, it will change its physical shape. You can look at the picture here. There is no magnetic field. When a magnetic field is applied, the material will elongate. It will elongate and it will have a change in their physical shape. So where it is applied is in defense area. So particularly most of the smart materials, here I should make a note mainly in this context, most of the smart material, it may be a shape memory alloy, it may be a magnetostrictive material, or it may be a piezoelectric material. Most of the things are first applied in practice in the defense area, particularly in aerospace technology or in military, etc. Then it was gradually come into practice into the common structural engineering applications or mechanical applications or automobile applications. When in sonar systems, that is sound navigation and ranging, in sonar systems, they used to have this magnetostrictive material in great applications. Hydraulic valves wherein the fuel injection systems are used. I was telling aerospace technology. Nowadays, this energy harvesting is picking up with a great pace. Energy car harvesting using magnetostrictive material or piezoelectric material is a very big level of application, wherein now you would have heard about in news, people have started laying energy harvesting roads. The piezoelectric elements will be fitted in the roads, and when the vehicle is moving, there will be energy created and it will be stored in capacitors. And structural health monitoring of pipes, etc. And dysprosium. So here, how the transducer is functioning. You look at this rod in the middle. This is that smart material. When electric current is passed through this coil, it will have that magnetizing capacity. And once the magnetizing capacity is reached, it will have an elongation. In the vice versa, that is opposite sense or in the opposite context, in that same ferromagnetic body, if you have a force or you pull it in two directions, it will create or generate electricity. So this is normally all smart materials will behave in a reverse effect also. So where these smart materials are, these magnetostrictive materials are applied in civil engineering. This terphenol is mainly used as friction dampers in cable stayed bridges to control their vibration. So here you can see this inner picture, like the previous diagram what I have shown, like this. So the inner picture is fitted in the cable stays of bridge. Normally, it is wrapped in a metallic coil, which in turn housed in outer casing. By passing current through the coil, the magnetic field is formed and causing the rod to extend. It will arrest the vibrations in the suspension cables or in the cable stays of long span bridges. This is having a little limited application in the structural engineering field. So I am just giving out this application. And with that, I am just going to the advantages and drawbacks. So this picture, before looking to the advantage drawback, this picture shows the testing. It is like normal, that is sensor testing. We can test the capacity of this particular magnetostrictive material when it is fitted with concrete. And here they have fitted with small prisms. They are testing this magnetostrictive material and how it is getting transformed into magnetic phase or how it is getting transformed into the elongation phase. So looking into the advantage, we have listed now already, quick response, high energy density, wide operation frequency, but there are more drawbacks, particularly for this material. That is, we need to have a controlled magnetic field, otherwise it will not function properly. The unknown interaction between the compressive stress and the magnetostrictive response will have some negative effects. It will not have a guided performance. The power supply, if it is interrupted during an earthquake or we cannot able to magnetize the material, there will be disaster for the control structure also. We cannot have a control level of maintenance. So with this background, let me jump into the next material, or the most important health monitoring material, called piezoelectric sensors. Before looking into this piezoelectric sensors, this word so far I have not touched in my presentation, but the previous speakers they have used this word very often. The structural health monitoring. Let me throw a light on this. Then I'll have a discussion on the piezoelectric material. The structural health monitoring is the process of implementing a damage detection strategy. That is, what is your strategy? This word strategy I'm going to fix in a strong way, because there are many SHM strategies. One person will follow a different level of strategy. It varies from even country to country. Even it varies from one municipal corporation with another municipal corporation, particularly when you are monitoring bridges or road network or some critical infrastructure buildings, etc. So this process involves observation of a structure over a period of time, extraction of features from the measurement. That is, we have to collect the data and analyze those data to get the current health of the system. Even in our house, we normally do. We used to, in your house, we used to observe the pipe network, or used to observe your water tank. If you have constructed a reinforced concrete water tank, you used to look into it at least once in 3 months or 6 months, or in your entire house, you happen to see how it is performing. Is there any structural crack or active crack, etc. The output of this SHM process is periodically updated, and the information, that is the ability of the structure, will be monitored. That is how it is going to perform, whether the function is desirable or not, its aging, degradation, etc. Based on this monitored state, the municipal corporation or the maintenance department can trigger the repair or rehabilitation strategies, and the structure should be in fully operational condition. Many developing countries or developed countries, particularly New Zealand, USA, Singapore, China, Japan, and many other countries, have efficient SHM systems installed, and they are in practice. So what is this SHM? That is, we have to determine the damage. That is what I have already explained in the previous text. So the strategies, I was telling you the word strategy. One strategy is visual inspection. Another strategy is non-destructive evaluation. The third, or the modern recent strategy, is smart sensor-based SHM strategy. By measuring the structural response using sensors strategically placed, again, the same strategy is coming into the picture. You have to understand where we have to place the sensor. And this sensor will intelligently analyze the measured responses, and we have to study that, and we can identify the damage occurrence. Where the damage is there, sitting at our office, we can look into that particular thing. So piezoelectric sensors is a perfect choice for SHM. So what they used to do in 1970s is, where they were using wired systems, wherein lot of wires will be used for monitoring, and the independent sensors will be fitting. They will be used only for monitoring. So a person will daily go into that and have a look at the monitor, and they will make a reading noted down, and then they'll come back to their office, etc. In 1990s, fiber optic sensors, fiber Bragg grating. Many people may be knowing about this word, fiber Bragg grating. So that will be a fiber optic sensor, and that was followed in the last few decades, and they are having less calibration. In fact, their performance was good. Even in many countries, fiber optic sensors are still in practice, but it will alert only the neighborhood. And again, I am going to say it is only for monitoring. There are wireless optic sensors also available, but they are all conventional sensors. It will be used only for monitoring. Now, when we come into the present decade, wherein from 2010 onwards, many researches were going on, and from 2015, many countries have started erecting the smart sensors, and with the application of Internet of Things, sitting at our office or sitting in a control room or with your mobile, you can easily control or monitor the performance of your structures. And in energy harvesting also, these type of things are used, cultivating energy. Again, this is a video. I'm just skipping this video because of non-availability of audio system. Okay, this SHM piezoelectric sensors, what is the definition? Actually, the piezoelectric material will generate electric charge when it is subjected to a stress or a strain. That is, when you give a force, it will generate electric charge. It is something new or interesting to listen. Similarly, there are converse piezoelectric effect. Normally in your physics, you used to study this piezoelectric effect. When the converse piezoelectric effect, if you produce a stress or strain or you give out a force, it will generate, that is, I'm sorry, I think there is, when you apply electric field, it will give out a stress, that is called converse piezoelectric effect. If you apply a force, it will generate electricity, that is called piezoelectric effect. The word piezo is actually a Greek word wherein the meaning is just pressure, give a press or a squeeze. Again, there are several piezoelectric materials. In fact, bone is a good piezoelectric material. Some crystals are there, barium titanate, Rochelle salt. The Rochelle salt, many people have done research in this. And when you come into ceramics, lead zirconate titanate, that is PbZT, lead zirconate titanate. This is a very popular piezoelectric ceramic or piezo ceramic material, which is having a good measurable electric performance under a force or a deformation. Some polymers also do have piezoelectric behavior or characteristics. So when you go into the research, there are piezoelectric crystals or piezo crystals, there are piezo ceramic materials, piezo polymeric materials available. Out of this, I am going to concentrate only on the piezo ceramic material, particularly the lead zirconate titanate. So what are the advantages of this piezo ceramic transducers? Because they are low cost, small in size, that is very thin. They will be very, very delicate or thin, light in weight, quick response. They will be having a good level of electric generation. That is why we are using the word quick response, and it is solid state, particularly in actuation. So it is very ideal person for comprehensive structural health monitoring. So other application of PZT, I'm just skipping this because in microphones we used to have, and in automatic seat belts, whenever there is some accident or rapid deceleration, this piezoelectric material is used in most of the seat belts. In olden days, they used to have some mechanical gear type arrangement, but nowadays the automobile industries, they have gone for piezoelectric. And in your kitchens nowadays, when you are going for electric stoves, you just turn the knob, it will automatically glow. There will be electricity. So when electricity is given, it will create some mechanical energy, which in turn give out a pressure, and the spark will come and your gas will get automatically lighted. So when you happen to use that in your kitchen, you are already exposed to piezoelectric material. In microphones, it is fully piezoelectric nowadays. The modern microphones are all piezoelectric. And in a restaurant and airports, the automatic doors, you keep your leg on a particular level of floor, the floor will exert a pressure, that pressure will generate electricity, and the electricity will automatically open the door. It is not like light sensors which were used in olden days. Nowadays, the piezoelectric automatic doors are used. So the different forms of piezo ceramic material available in the market: rings, disc, tubes, cylinders. In automobile industry, they used to use annular disc or discs. In civil engineering application or structural engineering, we normally use PZT plates or the patches. In the second diagram, you can see this is called PZT patches. Now, in piezoelectric based health monitoring, there are three methods of thing. I am not going to go deep into this. One is impedance based method, vibration characteristic based method, and Lamb wave based method. These are all different methods of monitoring. That is, when you are collecting data from a piezo ceramic sensor, how far it is going to get assessed. So like that, there are electromechanical impedance method, or pressure or vibration method, then Lamb wave based method. Now let me give you some good amount of research what was in practice in many of the countries and many industries. That is, one is Professor C.K. So. He is a very important person when we look into the SH monitoring or structural health monitoring in Nanyang Technological University. I happened to visit his lab once in Singapore. He has done tremendous amount of work. His method of approach is electromechanical impedance. There they have tested RC bridges, and this paper has been published in the journal Smart Materials and Structures. They have tested RC bridge, and they have used electromechanical impedance based crack monitoring method, and the monitoring of concrete curing is also done. He has done works on damage identification as well as curing. That is particularly in structural health monitoring. Professor C.K. So. And another pioneer from Houston University from the state of Texas, this G-Song. Whenever you go to Google Scholar, you type the word intelligent or smart or piezoelectric, the very first literature you will be able to get will be from Professor Song, G-Song. So he is a very important pioneer in these piezoelectric applications. So he has tested several things. He has given research in bridge piers, and this paper is on a bent cap. What is actually happening here is they will give out, that is, there are several 10 sensors installed in a, this is the specimen, test specimen. In the test specimen, totally there are 10 sensors installed, and among the 10 sensor, PZT3 and PZT5. PZT3 is somewhere here, that is this cross section. PZT5 is somewhere here at the top. So in the end portion, they have used PZT3 and PZT5 for actuator. What is that actuator? That is, there they will give out electric signals. So what electric signal will do? Electric signal will vibrate or try to make the piezo ceramic material vibrate. The piezo ceramic material will have some deformation. That deformation will create vibrations in the entire structure. That vibration will be picked up again, because the reverse piezoelectric effect, wherein when vibrations are received, electricity will be generated. So you are giving in electricity, creating vibration through actuators, and you are sensing the electricity through sensors. Again, the mechanical deformation is, that is mechanical vibration is sensed through the remaining 8 sensors. So totally there are 10 piezo ceramic patches incorporated. So normally they will incorporate patches in 2 ways. One is surface mounted, other one is embedded. Here they have given this in an embedded form. Another research, actually this Professor Gangbing Song is more popular for smart aggregate, because this piezo ceramic material is little vulnerable to water effect, because normally when we are going to embed a piezo ceramic material inside a concrete material or a structural material, you have to incorporate it with water. So what this Song and his research team have done is they have cleverly developed a smart aggregate, wherein in mortar they will be embedding this piezo ceramic patches. Only the lead wire will come out. So from that mortar cubes, it is like a cover block. Just imagine like a cover block. It's very simple. You just imagine how you are manufacturing cover blocks. So what they will do is they will take that PZT patch, they will coat it with epoxy material to have waterproofing. Then they will insert it into the mortar mold. Then the mortar will be casted. That is, the mortar will be filled in, and the smart aggregate will be casted. This aggregate will in turn kept at designated locations or strategical locations inside the column. The right side picture you can see the RC column which was tested with 6 PZT sensors. So same way, one will be used as an actuator, the remaining will all sense the data. If there are some cracks noticed, the sensor signals will be coming in a weak way or in a disturbed way. Based on that, using some mathematical analytical calculations, they will be sensing the damaged state of the structure. So in the left side, you can see the seismic responses dated. Actually, I can explain this paper, wherein using an actuator, the columns will be exerted dynamic load, that is some real-time earthquake load. And after each earthquake cycle of loading, electrical signals will be incorporated through PZT actuators, and it will be sensed through the PZT sensors. So first thing, when the column is healthy, there will not be any deviation in the signal. You can look at the next picture. Now look at the second left side. The top you have seen the healthy word, because the signals received from the sensors are all healthy. There is no crack. Even after you are increasing the acceleration of the earthquakes after each and every testing, you are giving the signals. After 1.2 g of acceleration, you can see there is very meager, that is the strength of signal received from the sensors. What does it mean is, it is meant like there are cracks or damages developed inside the particular column. So these signals are mathematically analyzed through different methods, and it will be incorporated to a damaged state. Similarly, in India, from IIT Delhi, Dr. Suresh Balla, he is actually a PhD student of Professor C.K. So at Nanyang Technology University, Singapore. He has done a tremendous research in this area, and in his construction and building materials paper, he has analyzed 4 different configuration of piezo ceramic sensors embedded in concrete with the RC slabs, and he has assessed the life of structures after each impact. So he has also developed a smart that is smart material and structures laboratory at IIT Delhi. If you happen to visit IIT Delhi, please do visit that lab. It is a very nice lab, and one Dr. Navit Kaur, she is presently working at CRRI, that is Central Road Research Institute of CSIR. She has also done tremendous research with Dr. Suresh Balla, and they have given a lot of service to this smart sensing field. So if you happen to read these papers and happen to visit IIT Delhi, you do visit their lab and you can get good idea about this piezo ceramic material. Similarly, at SERC Chennai, they have done research with surface mounted. Dr. N. Gopalakrishnan, the speaker of the first session. So here he is also working in piezoelectric sensors at SERC. So they have used with surface patches in a concrete beam. And in our institution also, PSNA CET, there is an ongoing research with this PSD sensors. Let me just take a break from the monitoring screen. That is actually, you can see the function generator. This is actually available in your electronics and communication engineering department. With this function generator, you can give out a signal. That is, you can set the velocity, and that velocity will in turn. So here, if you look at the bottom diagram, this is our embedded PZT sensor as well as an actuator inside the reinforcement. After this, we casted this beam, and you can see the lead wires coming out of this thing. One lead wire is connected to the function generator. The other lead wire is connected to the digital signal oscilloscope. The oscilloscope will collect the signal, voltage signal coming out from the sensors. So this side you can have the actuator. You can see the top diagram, actuator. It will give out the signals, and if there is a damage, the sensor signals will become weak. The signals coming to the sensor will be weak. This is the simple or easiest way of understanding. Now let me show you. I'll take a break from this PPT. I can show this. This is that PSD sensor what we are using in our institution. This is actually available in the market. You can see here, this is a very sensitive material, ceramic actually. Ceramic in the sense what the tile they are manufacturing, right? The ceramic material, you can see something like a stiff material. If you break, it will break like a chalk piece. It is actually little brittle, and you can see the lead wires here. Lead wires, positive, negative, which are soldered at the top. So you can see this is our sensor. This is, you see the thickness. This is just actually some 0.3 mm thick sensor. Now, if you connect the electricity, it will be very much interesting. If you connect the voltage, like minimum voltage, like some 100 volt or 50 volt, positive and negative, this patch will vibrate. This patch will vibrate. Similarly, we have tested it physically. If you you connect this to a DSO, you connect this to this wire to a DSO. If I am pressing this like this, if I am making a press, I press this with my normal finger, you can generate electricity. That is the greatest boon of this material. This is actually smart material. If you press it, it will generate electricity. If you pass in electricity, it will vibrate. You can physically see through your natural eyes, human eyes. So again, I'll go back to my presentation. Here it is. So this is what we are doing, and researchers are working here, and we have done good amount of research, and our papers are under publication stage. So I'll go to the full screen mode. Similarly, at IIIT Hyderabad, that is one Dr. Ramchandrala Pradeep Kumar, he has established one earthquake engineering research center at IIIT Hyderabad. This is Indian Institute of Information and Technology, Earthquake Engineering Research Center. If you happen to go there, they have erected one live SHM system in a critical building or infrastructure building at Chandigarh. It is under live monitoring. So sitting at his office in Hyderabad, Dr. Pradeep Kumar is monitoring a building in Chandigarh, wherein this PEZT sensors are installed and the active monitoring system has been put into practice. Now looking into real-time application, one is in Chandigarh, but that is still under testing stage. It has not come into news. So let me leave that. I don't have any pictures for that thing. Only when you happen to visit Dr. Pradeep Kumar's lab, you can see. In his office itself, there is a big television. And in that television, you can see how that building is under. If some person is running, you can see the vibrations in the building. It is there in his office. A big television is there, which is directly connected to the internet. And through internet, he is monitoring the vibrations of the building. It is real time. Then comes the real-time application in Singapore, one MRT station, which is an underground station, Telok Blangah. It's actually a composite structure, wherein you can see the diagram, that is the picture in the right side. The PEZT patches are pasted on the web, and the wires are coming out. The wire will go to the control unit, and directly the damages in the composite platform of the underground MRT station will be monitored. So this is a real-time monitoring system with the SMS alerts. They will the administrative people will get the SMS alerts. This is again a video wherein in Germany, one company has installed SHM system in most of the bridges. So if you are able to see it without the audio, let me play. If it is not good, I'll just skip the video. So I'm sorry for the audio again. So like this, actually, what IIIT Hyderabad, in Hyderabad, Professor Pradeep Kumar's monitoring system has got. So they can monitor it. In India, it is in the budding stage, but this German company Billfinger, this is actually extending its arms into several developing nations, particularly in China and India. Very soon, with our smart city mission through our government of India, we all will have such type of smart materials installed in our infrastructure also. So what I would request all the research scholars and the budding assistant professors is, so you please start your research in these type of smart materials, which is not new. Many countries have got this in practice. In Germany, almost nearly they have installed this SHM monitoring system in nearly 40 to 50 bridges. And this Billfinger is one of the pioneer company in the world. to install this SSM monitoring system. And even our country is also planning to go for such type of monitoring systems. I'll go to the presentation again. As a conclusion, we used to say the drawbacks also. So what is this is? The piezoceramic sensors, I have already listed the advantages. Now looking to the drawbacks, I was already pointing out, it is actually, it should be moisture proof. There should not be, because it is conducting voltage or electricity, it should be moisture proof. So the enclosure should be good. Either you should have a PVC enclosure or you should have a embedded concrete enclosure like what Professor Song was doing, like a smart aggregate. The output DC response will be little low. So you need to have charge amplifiers. When we were doing the research in the beginning stage, that is some 2 years before, we were unable to get the voltage. That is, voltage of the output electricity is very low. So then we were going for charge amplifiers. When the signals, input signals were all amplified, we are getting some good circuit. So whenever you are installing this PEZT sensors in your infrastructure, you need to go for little amplifiers. And there are big chances of preloading. For actually, what will happen here is, I'll go back to the camera. So if you are installing this PEZT sensor in your, for example, if you are installing this PEZT sensor in your beam or a column or in a bridge, if you are accidentally keeping some force over it, if you are accidentally keeping, so for example, I have to monitor the force coming on this particular sensor, but accidentally I have kept some steel bar over it, it will default, it will record all the loads then and there, and there will be some misinterpretation of data. So this is the biggest challenge in the piece. That is why Professor Sang has gone for smart aggregate. So we are they have incorporated the sensors inside a aggregate, right? So I'll go back to the presentation screen. The time is almost 4:10. I'll finish in another 10 minutes. So please bear with the time. It's almost over. We are going to the next material called electrorheological fluid, the fourth material. So electrorheological and magnetorheological fluid, which is actually transformed from the liquid state. Normally the fluid will be in liquid state. It will transform into a highly viscous state or a solid state in milliseconds. This is what the main word we have to understand here. It will be in milliseconds. Within few seconds, particularly in seismic applications, within a fraction of a second, the particular fluid will transform into a highly viscous state or a solid state, which will be used in a dampers when the electric field or magnetic field is applied. So when you go into YouTube, you can see this. You mix corn flour with light vegetable oil. You mix corn flour with light vegetable oil. It will be in fluid state. You take electric effect. No, you just rub your a balloon surface on your hair. You just do this experiment for your kid at your home. You rub the balloon in your hair and bring it near this corn flour mixed in the vegetable oil, which is like a fluid. You pour the fluid nearby this balloon. The balloon has induced electricity. This electric field will convert this vegetable oil into a highly viscous oil. It will drop down like a solid. So this is a normal, simple experiment of electrorheological fluid. So this corn flour will behave like electrorheological fluid. And some ferroparticles with many surfactants will behave in an electrorheological way. And urea-coated nanoparticles, particularly this barium titanate oxalate, this material will, with the silicon oil, it will behave like an electrorheological fluid. So where it is applied is many of the hydraulic shock absorbers, seismic dampers. In civil engineering, we are mainly using it in seismic dampers, and it is already in practice. In aerospace technology, where particularly to arrest the vibrations in the cockpit, particularly below the seats of the pilots, they are using this magnetorheological dampers. And human prosthetics, particularly in artificial limb, the leg limb of that is artificial prosthetic person, it has got this electrorheological fluid or magnetorheological fluid. If the person wants to run, the vibration will be severe. That vibration will not come into the bone of the particular person through the artificial limb. This magnetorheological fluid will behave like a shock absorber. Coming into the cross section, so MR damper consists of a fluid that moves between different chambers like a piston. The piston will be moving. when the shock is created, no, the heat energy will be generated or electricity will be triggered out, and this damper bit fluid will convert into a solid. So the piston will be getting more tightened and energy will be reduced. So like this, we can install this MR fluid dampers. In the morning presentation also, I think sir was pointing out. So when we want to arrest the seismic vibrations in the, like in a friction damper. So when you are giving out the bracings, like in a friction damper, you are fitting this magnetorheological fluid dampers, particularly in bracings or in cable stayed bridges. They will arrest the vibration. This is actually a very good, smart, active device. So it will automatically get triggered. So that is why it is called active. When you are using a control room or control unit, it will be converted into semi-active. So this paper, particularly the Professor Lee, he has done installed one MRF. This damper is developed in China to arrest the vibration between the bearing as well as that is a girder, bearing as well as the pier. The bearing will be transmitting less vibrations. So this paper they have done with 4 different earthquakes: El Centro earthquake, Loma Prieta, Japan Kobe earthquake. So they have done good amount of, particularly this Loma Prieta and the Kobe earthquake has got the highest value of peak ground acceleration. So those earthquakes had got a good level of behavior, particularly on MR fluid damper installed structures. So this is another paper wherein the fluid dampers are fitted in these 2 dampers are the MR dampers. You can see here. This is another paper. Now the real-time application in China, in Dongting Lake Bridge, they have installed this dampers. You can see the picture. Particularly, it's a rainy region and it is high winds are very common in this region. So they want to arrest the vibration. So the bridge has got cable dampers with magnetorheological fluid. So here you can see the MR damper with the position sensors is there. All the cable stays are installed with the dampers, and the dampers have the capability to change the viscosity in response to the electromagnetic field. So this is what the picture. So this is a real-time application of this MR damper. Again, coming to the drawbacks, actually this is very costly. In Structural Engineering Research Center at Chennai, they have used this MR damper seismic shock absorbers. So they purchased it at a small sample of experimental model will be costing around some 1.5 to 3 lakhs. So it is very expensive. And this fluid has got a problem of thickening, very common. That is, it need to be replaced once in every 10 years or 5 to 10 years, etc. So this is the biggest drawback. But advantage is it is highly efficient in vibration arresting. So it's a good degree of seismic vibration control. Then comes the modeling. So there are several papers on analytical model, but many are highly misguiding because it is very complex. Each researcher would have gone in a different way because of the highly irregular, non-linear characteristics of this particular MR damper. So with this, I'll close this MR damper. Coming to the last material, that is electrochromic material. This normally we used to have in our real-time application. That is when light energy is transmitted and when voltage is applied, the color of the light will automatically get darkened. That is smart glass, spectacles, etc. This is normally used in energy efficient buildings. So it regulates the solar radiation, may decrease the heating and cooling effect. And as this material is actually related to architectural applications, I'm just skipping this material for our discussion. So with this, I'm coming back to the beginning slide. That is totally, there are 5 intelligent materials I have listed, and I hope I have clearly illustrated the research aspects and their real-time application of particularly these 4 important materials. And I would request you people to throw light more on this shape memory alloy, particularly on its highly ductile behavior, then on this piezoelectric material, which is more relevant to the structural health monitoring. So this should be studied with the factors. What are the factors? That is, you can consider these left side factors. One is earthquake, then vibration due to wind or rain, then the structural distress, corrosion, temperature stress, or there is a differential settlement. This also can be considered for our study, particularly with the application of these intelligent materials. Now I have come to the very first picture where I have given the agenda of this presentation. So three infrastructure components are listed in this picture. One is a smart building, other one is a smart bridge, the third one is a smart tunnel. So with this, I'll conclude my presentation. This is the last slide. So you can see the smart building, the sensors, that two set of buildings are there. You can see here, two set of buildings are there. And here I am just mentioning that the sensors in the building monitor the building's movement in response to strong wind or earthquake tremors. The sensors in this building monitor. Actually, here you can see the third point. The buildings that detect an earthquake tremor could even warn other buildings nearby of the approach of the shock wave, so that they could send an alarm and prepare them accordingly. The buildings will be able to communicate between each other. That is, the control system here can communicate with the control system here, so that there will be an active level of communication. The seismic dampers can then be made to stiffen. So here they are mentioning about the magnetorheological dampers to reduce the oscillation. The next one is smart bridge. The wireless sensors mounted on a smart bridge or a bridge monitors the vibration. Normally in bridges, we need to monitor three main components. One is vibration, the next is strain or the displacement, then the temperature. Normally you would have seen in many corporations, people will sit in the top of a bridge deck with the LVDTs or strain gauges. They will measure after every 3 years or 5 years to monitor the performance of bridges. But in real time, the monitoring will be difficult, physical monitoring. So with these wireless sensors, we can easily monitor the performance of bridges through a network of sensors. If a problem is detected, such as some cable is problem or there is a crack, etc., we can get a warning in our monitor sitting in your office or through even an SMS. And in a smart tunnel, the wireless sensors mounted on the walls of a tunnel. Smart tunnel means it is not a normal water flowing tunnel. It can be a tunnel for a metro train transport system, or it can be a tunnel for a highway, etc. The tunnel monitor the displacement, temperature, and humidity. Because it is an underground structure, you need to monitor the humidity of the structure or the system. So this information will be forwarded through a network of sensors. If there is a problem, immediate thing will trigger out. And the third point you can see, in future, a smart tunnel could even use robots, because you cannot go to all the points of the tunnel. You can use robots to perform some maintenance task automatically. This is all the developing task. In another 3 or 5 years, we may even have all type of developments. So with this, the smart infrastructure, I think I have covered all these components, and I have listed 5 different intelligent materials and its applications. And I hope I have covered almost all the topics that I have listed. And I think we started 15 minutes late, and I was able to finish in some extra 5 minutes. With this, I thank all the audience for your patient hearing. And of course, it's over. If you have any queries, you can ask now. And I have listed my email ID also. Even if you want to have any collaborative research, or you want to have some discussion at any time, you can contact me or communicate me, even through the organizers all the day during the FDP.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for a very informative and very slow and steady, what we call, sir, the presentations is very excellent. Really, we felt very enthusiastic. Even we are not get bored in between that. So thank you.
Sir,
thank
I'm
you so
sorry.
much for that, sir.
I really apologize for the missing audio.
No,
Actually,
sir,
I was
it's
unable
not
to
at all
test it.
problem, sir. It's a informative one. Even it's an understandable one. It's not no need of audio also. Within the video itself, we can easily able to understand that. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot for your wonderful presentation, sir. And so many in the chat box also, all the participants are telling the same thing. You can see that is a
Yes, sir.
direct feedback. It's coming to you. That is from starting from that. Most of the people are telling that it's very nice sessions and very informative sessions.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, that is the thing. If any queries is there, the participants can ask.
Ask. Yes, sir. I am ready to answer your queries.
No question as such, sir, but it is a really a great compliment that really it is a smart session and it has defeated the post-lunch impact. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Actually, I was given that session in the afternoon, and Dr. Rajesh Kumar sir was pointing me, sir, I'm really sorry, we are doing in a post-lunch session. So I told him, sir, we will make it little interesting so that the participants should not feel bored. That's what I was mentioning in the beginning also.
And you
But
did it and
unfortunately,
achieved it.
video alone was there. If audio was there, it will be more interesting. I have got a few more videos also. I was unable to play. Sorry.
No issues, sir. You given your email address also, so we will get touch with you, sir, for future collaborations.
Yes, sir. If you permit me, I'll just give a small list of buildings in India at present. If the participants bear with me, I'll take another 30 seconds time. I'll share my screen again.
Yes, sir.
Surely,
Yes, sir.
surely.
Yes, sir.
Please,
Sure, sir.
please.
With pleasure, sir.
I have got a small list of buildings. Just a minute. Yes, actually, the participants are asking for the PPT sharing. I'll take
Yes,
that
sir.
point to the
You can
organizer.
send to that, sir. You can send to me, and then I will bound it with as a.
Yeah.
I will give them as all presentations there. With,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
collecting
Immediately
all the
after
things,
this
and I
session,
will share it to all.
I'll share the full PPT, sir. I'll share
Okay,
the
sir.
full PPT.
Okay.
So I'll share my next screen. Actually, this is a website, a normal information news website. You can see a smart building, and this website is listing some of the buildings. Actually, when you happen to visit the country of Singapore, most of the structures are smart, and most of the network system, that is transport network, they have been converted into smart. Similarly, in UK, a town they have totally made that is smart, and also in the country of Mexico, the electrical supply system has been made smart. Like that, in Amsterdam, they have used that is energy storage system and a rainwater toilet water system, and even a human powered gym. The gym will convert the workouts of the human people into electricity. So like that, many things are there. In Shanghai, actually, an indoor air monitoring system is used in the office actually. And in San Francisco, you can see photovoltaic cells, that is power generation through the solar system. Ultra energy efficient ceiling fans and living horticulture wine bar is there. And in Seattle, they have installed net zero energy, net zero water, net zero carbon, composting toilet. All these things are sustainability. So the very first presentation, we started with that word, and it is very nice. And you can see here in Sunnyvale, they have installed some smart windows, particularly outside condition. And in Colorado also it is there. And now coming to the smart buildings in India, can anyone that is cite what is this building? If you happen to visit this, you may be able to see. So where you have seen this structure, this building in India? Can anyone?
Is it Hyderabad Platinum Green Building? Is it?
No, sir. No, sir. That is also a smart building, sir. But it is actually the Indira Gandhi International Airport.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It is actually the Indira Gandhi International Airport. I think this is the
Now we can
arrival terminal at New Delhi.
Yes. Now we remember.
Actually, this building has been is winning a smart structure award consecutively for the last 3 years. Actually, the Honeywell company is conducting one smart building survey for the last 3 to 5 years, and this building is getting a good score. And some hotels in our country has got good score for the smart network or the smart system. And the Infosys software development building in Pune, it has won the smartest single occupant private office award. And you can see Bangalore has got a good score of smart buildings, and Mumbai has got 36%. So like this in India also, we are also becoming smart when we speak in terms of infrastructure. That's it. I just want to share this website. When I happen to browse regarding the content of the presentation, I happened to see this, so I thought to share this. So if any questions are there, the participants can come out.
Yes, sir. Sir, my question also is there, sir. One question.
Yes, sir. Please, sir. Please, sir.
Sir, the the piezoelectric, that is the smart aggregate,
Yes, sir.
that is commercially available to the market, or we have to create it. That is, we have to
No,
take
sir.
it
No, sir.
ceramics,
Uh,
and I have to make it as a cover block. That is the exercise I have to do, or otherwise it is available in the market.
Sir, actually, the piezo ceramic sensor, what I was showing, is available in most of the electronic shops, sir. That is particularly when you are looking into the project-based research shops, you can get this piezo ceramic material because it is more applicable in automobile and communication industries. Because they are using automobile people, they are using this piezo ceramic sensor at many applications. So you can buy this, but the smart aggregate we have to
Okay.
manufacture.
We
That
have
is,
to
we have
make
to
it.
incorporate this sensor inside it, and we have to manufacture it, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
This is actually the ready-made available, sir. This is
It's a
actually the
ready-made
ready-made
available.
available.
Okay, okay, sir.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
With the
The
wire.
problem, it is more brittle. Even if you just twist it, it will break.
हॅलो आहे की निफाडी नाही आहे तिथे अच्छा
Sorry,
अच्छा
sir.
अच्छा बरं मी करतो शेजारच्या लाईट शेजारी किती नंबर आहे
Okay, sir. That is, sir is not muted. He is talking with others. Okay, sir. Sir, and I think there is any other question? Any other questions from participants? Is there any questions you can ask directly to sir? I think it's over, sir. Anyhow, they have somewhat like clarity.
Okay, sir. It's
Yes,
actually
sir.
two things we can say, sir. One is the participants they are very clear. The other one is they want to close. So normally like a class. Okay,
It
it's
is
not a
the
problem.
first one, sir. It is the first one.
We'll take the first one. Okay, sir. It's my pleasure. It's
Yes,
my
thanks, sir.
pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Once again, I thank the organizers and I thank the participants for your patient listening. And we hope to meet again if sometime is available and we got the opportunity. Thank
Sir, thank you.
you, Dr. Rajesh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And
Thank you.
really, the afternoon sessions, it is the third sessions. You connected with SMA and the MR dampers and with the smart aggregates. And I thought that it is separately. You are telling that finally you are connected with these intelligent materials, how connected with our civil engineering structures. So
Yes, sir.
how
Yes.
it has to be constructed and what are the merits and demerits also you are telling that where it will get demerits. So clearly explained, sir, for the upcoming researchers also. It was a wonderful session, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. On behalf of the management of the SR Engineering College and as well as the Department of Civil Engineering, I place my sincere gratitude to you for accepting our invitations. Thank you, sir. Thanks once again, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. We'll close, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Today we are completed 3 days and we are taking the attendances also. So tomorrow I will display that how much attendance you scored because 3 days over, remaining 2 days only is there. That attendance we can see that and you can act accordingly because it's a small sign I am giving to all. And tomorrow we have a sessions starts with Surya Prakash sir. He is from IIT Hyderabad and his topic is precast constructions of sustainable smart cities. And that next session will be followed by Dr. M. Sivakumar sir from NIT Calicut. He is also talking about sustainable bituminous pavement and that materials. And the last sessions will end up with Dr. M. Vinod Kumar from Vale Tech University. He is going to talk about the technique for constructions of sustainable lightweight buildings. Anyhow, thank you, sir. Thanks for your patience and your cooperation also. Thank you. Thanks, Sonata. I will close this session, sir.